Sometimes, your Christian life just seems like it's just uninspiring, and other things look better. But you have to actually bedrock yourself in what's true, and to know that it does matter if Jesus rose from the dead.
I always make the point, like, I'm glad I don't let my son decide whether or not it's making him whole to go to the dentist, because, he would most likely not choose to go, which, of course, we know would cause all kinds of deeper problems that would cause him more pain later. But leaving it up to ourselves to decide what works for me, what makes me feel happy, what makes me, according to my own definitions, thrive. I think that's a really dangerous way to go about identifying what your worldview is. So share with us a bit about how you kind of close the whole thing out with your postscript. And the chapter is called, "What Do I Do If I Feel Like Christianity Just Isn't Working for Me?"
Yeah, this was an important chapter, and I thought it was the right one to end the book on. When I had a draft of the book, I sent it around to a number of college ministers I know. And one of the repeated themes I got back, which was, hey, we love what you've written, but just one thought, and that is a lot of the college students today that we see reject the faith, they're not rejecting it because it's not true. They're not even concerned about true versus untrue. Or historically accurate versus historically inaccurate. They're concerned about what's existentially satisfying for them, what quote unquote works for them. So I knew I needed a chapter on that. And, I start off by first correcting some misunderstandings. The first thing I wanted to make clear is that we don't believe something is true just because it works. And this is the point you just made. You're going to end up down some really wacky paths if you think that experience determines truth. However, the opposite is true. Christianity isn't true because it works, but it does work because it's true. In other words, we expect Christianity to produce fruit, to produce existential satisfaction, to produce a lot of those sort of what we might call sort of satisfying aspects of the Christian life, because Christ is satisfying. That said, though, that doesn't mean every phase of your Christian life is that way. And it doesn't mean that every time you wake up in the morning, you feel very existentially satisfied, so to speak. I mean, Christian life is hard. And one of the things I wanted to point out there is that if people are only Christians because it made their life better, then no one would be Christians. It doesn't always make your life better, at least in a worldly sense. It can make your life more fulfilling, certainly, and more rich, but it often leads to persecution. It often leads to suffering. It often leads to difficulty. It causes all kinds of, circumstantial problems. So you can't say, Christianity always leads to a better life unless you end up at the health wealth gospel. And so there's a sense in which you have to just reckon with the fact that there'll be points in your life where things seem broken. You find out that your pastor is cheating on his wife, or that he abuses people in the church, or that the church is profoundly broken or done awful things, or that sometimes your Christian life just seems like it's just uninspiring, and other things look better. But you have to actually bedrock yourself in what's true, and to know that it does matter if Jesus rose from the dead. And if he rose from the dead, then you weather out those ups and downs, knowing that at the end of the day, that you will ultimately find ultimate satisfaction in Christ, even if it doesn't feel like it at the moment. And that's an important lesson for college students. That's an important lesson for everybody.